Hi, I'm Rehan. I'm 25 and I'm a lawyer by vocation, but I also have a lot of interests and passions beyond my career. I recently found myself at a bit of crossroads, so I decided that I wanted to reverse engineer a fulfilling life by having authentic conversations with people who I believe could help me with my journey and hopefully yours too. For this first month, I wanted to explore what it means to be in relentless pursuit of your passion. Our guest today is Carina, an entrepreneur behind HumCare, a health tech company which caters to helping people with all forms of lifestyle and conditioning. Full disclosure, Carina is like a big sister to me. We grew up together and I've always looked to her for guidance and advice. She started HumCare due to her personal struggles dealing with PCOS, and she made it her mission to help people so that they don't go through what she did alone. Through my conversation with her, I wanted to understand what it means to turn your personal adversity into your passion in a meaningful way. I hope this conversation is as enriching to you as it was to me. So hey Carrie,
Hello.
Thank you for coming on.
Of course.
So the first question I always ask anyone who comes on is, what is the best piece of advice that you have ever received? And how has that impacted you in your quest on pursuing your purpose?
I would say the best advice I've actually received, I think we've all probably heard it 1,000 times, and it's very, very simple. Life is too short. I actually didn't know how deep this piece of advice was until I grew a little older, and I also just experienced maybe some hardships, challenges, things in life. But of late, I actually do understand the meaning that life's too short to care about what other people think.
Yeah.
Life's too short to not try that thing. Life's too short to not take that trip. Life's too short to not spend time with your loved ones.
Yeah.
And I think if we actually practice that really simple piece of advice, our lives would be a lot richer. So I'd say that's probably the best advice.
But it's often the hardest to practice because of
Exactly.
the plethora of things that you can get potentially distracted with in
Exactly.
pursuit of something, right?
Exactly.
So, but was that like a self-realization that helped you think that this is how I'm going to prioritize it more? Because given that your busy schedule, which I know firsthand of how busy
Yeah.
it does get,
Yeah.
how have you been able to find a good balance in that journey of yours of self-discovery and understanding that life is too short? Because I get stuck in overthinking it stuff, and then you get
all do.
and then you get stuck in inaction because you
Yeah.
can't take a decision.
Yeah.
So what made you think that, you know what, I'm really going to prioritize this and I'm going to make the most of the limited time I have?
So very honestly, I think the first time I actually understood the true meaning of life is too short was during the pandemic. I don't think any of us had experienced something like that ever, right? And that was when I truly understood that moments can actually just pass you by. And sometimes it's so funny, like if I'm writing a date down, like automatically my mind is going to like 2019, 2020, and we're in 2025 if we think about it. So that was the first time, and we were kind of just stuck, right? Because we lost a lot of years being at home. Maybe like a lot of kids couldn't like attend university, school.
I couldn't,
Exactly.
college was shut.
Yes, I remember that. So it was just a very tough time, and I think that was the first time where I was like, it is so important to be present and grab every moment. I think for me, with my schedule, life is busy, and not just for me, for everyone, right? So it's like, pick a few things that you actually love or care about, whether it's spending time with your grandparents, whether it's spending time with your family or your partner or your dog you want to walk. And just find that little time you can call me time, whether it's waking up an hour earlier and going for that walk with your dog, whether it is maybe every Sunday saying I'm going to dedicate the next 3-4 hours to just family time and actually not check my email or not check my phone, but do it mindfully and intentionally. That's really helped me. But again, I'm a very type A calendar person, so you have to just put it into your calendar, and once you put it in, then follow.
That's what it is. And then
Exactly.
respect the boundary you set for yourself.
Exactly. And discipline is everything.
Completely.
I think for me, you kind of have to have that like hard stop or boundary, be disciplined, and then say, you know what? I'm actually going to be disciplined with this me time as well.
That's
right?
true, because you prioritize that along the way too.
Exactly. So that's how I do it.
Very interesting. So I think that's something I think everyone can say. put on, because most people push it away,
Exactly.
thinking that they can always rely on and fall back on it later on in life.
Yeah.
But if you don't take the little steps today, you'll never overarchingly rely on it later on and put it into practice later on.
Do you find it hard to like carve out time for yourself, or is it something you've learned how to
you know
do?
as well, I'm a type A person where I am constantly wanting to overachieve in everything that I do. And I don't like to cut corners, because I wholly believe that if I do something, I want to go all the way.
You want to be the best.
I want to be the best, and I want to be the best of my own ability.
Exactly.
I don't care what anyone else sets a benchmark for, and though I use that as a form of inspiration, like I believe that I have potential and I want to work towards that potential, and I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't work towards that endeavor. So, but I don't know how to keep that line and compartmentalize and prioritize my mental well-being, because I feel that fine balance of I'm not doing enough vis-a-vis maybe I'll be able to do more if I gave myself the time. Which is what I struggle with. But I think over this last, especially my experience giving the solicitors exam, I've learned to be more kind with myself, which I think is a big learning curve for me. Instead of looking at what's happened to me or what I'm going through in a negative light and using that as fuel, being more grateful and using that as fuel now has sort of improved my mind space when I am in the trenches.
I actually love that you said be more kind to yourself, because my therapist not recently, but a while ago told me, she was just like, you're so like not kind to yourself, and like the same kindness I think we exercise for other people, we never do that for ourselves. And I didn't even realize that I had this like really
eureka moment,
like rigid, you know, yes and no for myself. And that was the first time I was like, wait, you're right. Like, why am I not allowed to be messy on a day that maybe I am tired, or like maybe I'm a bit burnt out. But
like accepting what things, I think I read that, if I'm maybe wrong, but I may have read that, I think in the School of Life by this guy called Alain de Botton, who is someone who again writes and speaks a lot on mental well-being. And that's when I heard him, or maybe I read it, and that's when I realized that, you know what, empathy is an overarching very important feeling, which one should have. But more important, it starts at home. And if you can do it to yourself, you can definitely do it with others.
Exactly.
But you can't practice it unless you preach it.
Exactly.
So obviously today's pod is specifically on purpose. And it's for people, like obviously you're an incredibly inspiring individual for me, and someone I consider very close to, and whose advice I always lean and rely on. But I think that what you would be able to speak about today will impact a lot more people, including me, who are struggling for their purpose, and how the journey that you went through building a health tech startup as a woman, which is incredibly inspiring for me at home, because I've seen women succeed at home.
Yes,
so,
you know it.
And I know it firsthand, and I understand the pitfalls and the struggles, with the silent struggles which no one speaks about today. I wanted to speak about, where have you derived that purpose on a personal level from, and what does the term mean to you?
I think to start with, maybe let's start with something I do know better than maybe just the purpose front, where I learned how to just have this work ethic or not be afraid to try. It's actually 100% from my mom and dad. Seeing my mom, especially being this woman entrepreneur, being so empowered, being someone who can uplift others
all the time,
just through a conversation, right? And I feel very lucky to have that experience and, you know, be raised by a woman so strong. So very early on, and like my dad as well, he's definitely someone who champions us at home and says like, you can do anything, right? And it's a very lucky thing, I would say, to have. So from a very young age, you know, my parents have always been like, you can be who you want. There are no boundaries. Try. There's no difference between you and anyone else. You can do it if you want.
They give you the backbone to take the risk.
Exactly. And for me, I think very early on, this kind of hustle, just watching my parents, you know, build their companies, their entrepreneurial journey, it was very inspiring to see hard work, right? And up close, I've seen my parents just work so hard consistently, that I would say my sisters, Soph and I, like, we don't take hard work and responsibility lightly. And
for granted,
Exactly.
Which they don't do, I can attest to it,
And but for us, it's always been something we've known since childhood. So even if we're not good at something, like I wasn't the most academic kid growing up, If you know, you know.
Yeah.
But I think our parents kind of gave us the courage to keep trying, right? So that's how I kind of got inspired, and also had the courage to say there's something that may not be the most mainstream thing, it may not be the most trodden path, but I want to try.
Yeah.
And I had that kind of support from my family, which I feel very lucky, and that gave me the courage. When it comes to purpose, I think it's ever evolving, right? I don't think that there's a certain time where we're just like, oh, I found my purpose and this is it. For me, it was actually my own struggles that brought me to found this company Hum that I've been working on. But it was I never set out to say, oh, this is exactly what I know I want to do from the age of 10 or 12 or 15 or 20.
Yeah.
To be honest, I actually struggled a lot with my health, with PCOS specifically, and it was a very isolating experience. For those who know me, my family and friends, it was definitely something I struggled with for a long period of time. And that feeling actually stuck. And I would say I'm quite a sensitive person, and I knew that if I felt so insecure or terrible with my own struggles, I wonder how many other girls like me are feeling this. And
of course,
that kind of became that motivation for me to want to find a solution for others. Because I was like, why the hell should other women, or frankly anyone, struggle with any lifestyle condition or healthcare condition
which they can't control at some level, which
exactly. And why is healthcare in our country such a privilege, right? Like it should be a right, it should be accessible to everyone, no matter who you are and where you come from. And that kind of became my motivation, and I would say some sort of purpose for me. Which again evolves day by day.
Completely. I think I relate to what you said, because I always thought my purpose was to be a lawyer from the age of, since I was born, it's like the age of 5 till I went to law school in Hyderabad, and then I came back to Bombay with me not wanting to do law at all. Where I went through a phase where, you know what, because you've been told something all your life, you want to rebel. You're in like a bit of a rebellious phase.
I don't know if this is
I don't know if this is what's for me. When I came back to Bombay and moved out and came back to Bombay. But I think what happened was that importance of flexibility is what makes you more adaptable as a person, which helps you it really helped me fall back in love with the law and realize that I am passionate about that.
And you're good at it.
And in the long run, hopefully I will be good at it. Right now, I'm just starting out, but hopefully in the long run, I will be good at it. But when I went through that phase, there was a lot of self-inflicted doubt that came about. Because one, I didn't know whether, obviously when you start out something, you suck at it. And when you suck at it, you end up doubting yourself more until you reach a certain level of proficiency, wherein then you have a certain level of confidence. And then confidence builds on your purpose because it justifies the trenches that you've put yourself into. And then in the long run, it's fine. But early on, people, or at least me personally, suffered an immense amount of doubt in both realms. Whether I want to continue with the law and try and find something within there that I want to work in or work towards, or take the easy way out and not work in the law and do something more along the mindset which was against the law. I was like looking at doing anything but the law. So did you ever had that feeling yourself where you were like, you know what, prior to starting Hum, or even during that idea of grappling before, because I know before Hum it was something else and then it moved into Hum. Did you have that feeling of like self-doubt that creeped in all the time when you were just starting out, or in your early phases of you trying to pursue this purpose of yours of trying to create a safe environment for women?
You know, truth be told, I feel like I have a lot of imposter syndrome and self-doubt every day, actually. And we're 5 years in, and honestly, it still feels like it's day one for us, because you're always making mistakes, you're always learning. It's always a new challenge which you feel like you're not ready to handle yet. For me, I think it all happened really fast, right? Like, we put out this beta version back then. It was called Baby Space.
Baby Space.
Yeah, in 2020. And it got a lot of traction. And it was a very exciting, very interesting time. It was too fast for me to say, is this a forever thing? Is this my purpose? Is this my calling? I would say my imposter syndrome comes more from am I good enough? You know, like, is this good enough? Am I good enough? Everyone's better than me. All our competitors are better. You know, and it's like this constant kind of, that little evil, maybe mini me you have on your shoulder, just whispering that kind of insecurity. to you. I think there are many days you question saying, should you be doing this? Should you be doing something else? For me, in the last, I would say 5 years, it's been like hum is like my heart and soul, very honestly. And I'm very committed to making this happen and making this happen for people. And the products evolved a lot as well, right? We're not just a women's health company anymore. We're a life stage and condition management company through all life stages. And you learn more and your mission, your purpose evolves. But I think having doubt, whether is this the right track? Am I gonna, like 10 years from now, is something bad gonna happen? And then I'm gonna turn around and be like, oh my God, I wish I did something else. Yes, those thoughts come by all the time. It's really normal. I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. I've always looked up to my parents who were entrepreneurs. So I kind of have that like
spirit.
I have that in my blood, I would say. So I knew I wanted to build something. I wanted it to be impact focused and to help people. But it's not the worst thing in the world if you're not sure what you want to do. I only realized at 25. And that's how old you are right now, you know? So I think it's important to kind of try. Try and fail and learn. There's no such thing as failure. Try and learn.
Yeah, always.
And then try something else.
Completely. And
so you have no regrets.
Yeah, right? And be flexible when if it wasn't to work out, you can take the learnings and try elsewhere.
Exactly. And it's way better than to look back and be like, 10 years ago, I should have done that. That was my dream. And that's a worse feeling.
Yeah. But I think also another question I want to ask is I obviously know that your parents, I know how successful they have been in their entrepreneurial ventures themselves. Did you have that crippling doubt that you wouldn't be able to reach up to their level of prowess or experience or expectations? Because I suffer with that. Because knowing fully well that my granddad has succeeded in everything that he has done. And then my mom who have worked incredibly hard to achieve their level of success that they've had in their lives. And I want to obviously exceed all of those, being an ambitious individual that I am.
Because we're all very competitive.
Because we're all competitive, and at the end of the day, that if you believe that your potential is what is your ceiling exceeds that, you want to work towards that in a humble manner, but you definitely want to work and achieve that. So what was that level of doubt like? Because there's one to say that I doubted myself, but the second doubt is to be like, I definitely don't want to underachieve than them. And that adds to more pressure to an existing environment, which is anyway a pressure cooker. Yeah. So how did you end up grappling with that thought at all in your moments of doubt?
I grapple with it all the time. But the interesting thing is we have to look at things and also acknowledge maybe the context around them, the circumstances, the support, the access, the opportunity at that time, this time, and beyond. So for us, one, I think all journeys are really, really, really different. And I, of course, like looking up to my parents, I always want to make them proud. I don't particularly quantify it in a way that, oh, this has happened, so I need to have this exact thing, because I think journeys are so different, and it's actually so beautiful to see how complex all of us and our minds are. It's actually so interesting, right? To see the circumstances that impact us, the opportunities that impact us, the support that we get from our families as well. So I definitely think a big factor for me is that I want to make my family so proud. And then you always worry like, oh my God, is it going to be good? Or is it going to be as good?
Outcome-oriented approach, which is never, it's never sustainable. Because
it's not, because you feel so overwhelmed from the start.
And when you achieve this, there'll be another target. And then there'll be another target. Completely, I'm with you.
That's my life. And it's interesting because something that I realize that I do a lot is, you're like, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. This happens. And you're like, oh, whatever, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want. And you end up doing that a lot at work. But I would say it's important to not quantify and compare yourself to others. And, it sounds so cliche that everyone's like, your journey is yours, don't compete, don't compare. And I'm a very inherently competitive person. So it's like in my nature to be like, why am I not winning?
I want to win.
It's very much in my nature. So I think it's really important to not compare yourself to others. No, and by others, it doesn't just mean friends and competitors, like in the same industry maybe, but even family members, things are really different.
Yeah, for sure.
So give yourself room to grow without like capping it already. Maybe you're capping your potential.
Very true. With that rigid form of thinking.
Exactly.
But I think one thing that you, on your purpose, in this purpose that you found, is you're very good at just not giving a shit about what anyone else has to say.
Am
I think that on the whole, all the advice that you've given me has always been like, doesn't matter what anyone thinks. I'm going to try and get to what I want to get. And at least that's the advice that you've palmed out to me. So I wanted to understand from you first, did you growing up also have that mindset that, you know what, or is that something you learned to imbibe and get harder skin yourself, that in the long run, you know fully well that'll help you have that tunnel vision and not get distracted in your endeavor?
Okay, so very honestly, I have never had that until I would say in the recent years.
Yeah.
Like every other kid, you're always insecure about everything. Puberty, boys liking you, girls liking you,
Fully.
being in the group, being invited, getting into the right college. Like, it's just
Not
getting
winning. Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
right? Like not winning sports day.
Yeah.
Like you're permanently like insecure and caring. I think for me, it took me a very long time to get thick skin and actually not care. I think in the first 2 years of, founding Hum, there have been many times I've cried because of maybe what a potential investor said to me, or a client has been super rude telling us our product sucks.
Yeah.
Or, just looking on LinkedIn and just reading 24/7 how people are raising 20 million and 40 million and I just raised 16 million. I got 20 term sheets, and that would just freak me out. And I was like,
what am I doing?
Why is that not happening to me?
Yeah.
Like, why is my journey so different? And I used to care a lot. Recently, maybe in the last, not recently, but in the last 2 years,
Yeah.
I just realized I think we take ourselves too seriously and we spend too much time thinking that other people are thinking about us. When actually no one cares about us.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah.
No one is thinking about us for more than like 2 minutes a day.
Completely.
And I just realized that life is too short. Like
Exactly.
I said, life is too short to care about what other people may have to say. And something I actually follow is, like what you're doing or the impact you're creating, the content you're creating. It's not about all the people that know you, but it's about the people that also don't know you.
Exactly.
Yet.
And obviously to help even one person in their journey of having that level of self-confidence in the long run and help develop that for themselves.
Exactly.
Because I struggle with that. I struggle with the outside noise a lot. Exactly. And I used to grew up very, very insecure and had a very tough childhood from my own mental health. And so something very recently I've also started to learn and accept myself for who I am instead of not try and change things to fit into other people's boxes. Because I think it starts from there. Like I think like the root cause of all mental health is you not accepting and being kind and of how you are and allowing yourself to grow further of what's given to you. And taking that further.
Because you're trying to put yourself into this mold maybe you think is like pre-approved by others.
And to fit in. Or like LinkedIn. I don't use LinkedIn anymore because I just realized that. Yeah, I know you use it. We spoke off camera where you said you use it. I made it a point of mine to not use LinkedIn at all because I felt like it was affecting me more than it was benefiting me.
I get you.
Yeah.
But I don't end up actually spending a lot of time like reading a lot. But it's like very interesting to see maybe industry updates.
Yeah, for sure.
Like really cool happenings in the world, whether it's in like AI or healthcare or really cool biotech things that are happening, but can't take that home. It should just like in one year out the other.
Which is something I need to get better with.
But it's practice and it's very like intentional. You may be like, oh my God, that really hurt my feelings. And then you have to just say, you know what?
It's okay.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's done.
It's okay. They don't actually care.
Yeah. Feelings are fleeting. It happened now. It's going to be fine.
Exactly. And it's practice.
Yeah. But do you think that your overall happiness and well-being has sort of benefited ever since you've been working as hard as you have towards your purpose? Because I understand that as an entrepreneur, there are good days and there are bad days. But at the end of the day, do you think that because you've given yourself this overarching need or want to impact other people's lives in such a positive manner, it actually benefits you? Forget the financial benefits that being an entrepreneur could have. It benefits you more as a person, because at the end of the day, people who work for money, more often than not, they end up searching for something deeper. So do you think that you have found that within yourself in this endeavor of yours?
Of course, we're building a business, right, for profit, but impact is just the heart and soul of our business. So we're trying to do good while making money as a business. It's definitely a huge incentive and motivation. And it also keeps us so humble, happy, purposeful. Has my health and wellness improved? That's a deep question and a hard one. My hours and like how much I work or push myself can definitely not be the best choice, I would say. And in the last 5 years, there have definitely been times where I felt a bit burnt out, a bit numb because you're so tired. And there's also this constant need to be like perfect and be good at everything and like be on top of everything and make sure you're on top of every single one of your team members' work. For me, I like to be first in, last out. I want to make sure that
Set an example.
like, and again, like, of course, I end up working way later into the night, taking calls in the morning from home. But it's like I love to be the first one who started the day.
Yeah.
And it's like inherently, but it's also this weird invisible pressure you put on yourself, which is also not the best.
Yeah.
I would say founding Hum and really just encouraging wellness and healthcare has definitely pushed me to take care of myself, our team to take care of ourselves as well. Like, we all try to eat more protein in the office, like stay away from eating junk a lot. So it's really nice. Do regular health checkups. You know, do therapy. Speak to a nutritionist.
And be open about talking. Because I also had a stint where I went to therapy, and I often think that
I think everyone should do therapy.
Genuinely.
Everyone.
And I think men should be more open to the idea of considering it as well.
Absolutely.
For a period of time, because it definitely benefits you. For me, I'm not currently doing therapy, but I do think that at the time I did do it, or it benefited me a lot. And it helped me, as I said, become more accepting of my mannerisms, and made me more introspective and looking at things and more aware and look at it from a growth mindset instead of being detrimental to my own point of view, like me putting myself down for it. So I 100% recommend it.
I recommend it. I think everyone should have a therapist, even if it's just to have 1 hour to talk about your week or the last 2 weeks and make it about you. I'm also one of those people that hates to make it about myself. So and I forget that sometimes maybe there are things I want to get off my chest or talk about or release. So I think it's a must for everyone.
But have you found, okay, there's 2 questions that I would ask, but they're relatively deep questions, which are, one is, have you found a core set of values that you believe in or you imbibe as a person? And have you been able to push that towards the purpose that you're working towards at home? Because the reason why I asked this question is that I have a set of values that I believe in personally. And I think I have an overarching purpose as to what I want to achieve out of my life. And I often feel that there is a stark similarity between the two. And so I wanted to know from you whether your inherent values helped push your purpose further and helped evolve it over a period of time.
Interesting, because I've never thought about it like that, but you're actually so right when you ask. So for me, one is like honesty is like my most important virtue, value, whatever.
Say it as it is.
Say it as it is. If you lie to me, it's really not going to be good for our friendship, relationship. That's like a must for me. But just growing up, I think, like me wanting to be inclusive to other people, I really believe in fairness. And it's been something that, like as a child, it's been something that I've always wanted everyone to feel loved and everyone to be in the group. Like that's always been how I was as a school kid. So it's interesting that you actually tied into this, because now when I think about it, we are working on building an inclusive healthcare ecosystem where we want everyone to get equal access, right? In a very fair, transparent manner. Like, to put it plainly, there's not one expert or doctor or article or group session that we have or we've onboarded that I wouldn't recommend to my parents or my sister,
100%,
or my husband. So it's very much... it's something that we want everyone to have the best. And definitely I would say it's I guess who you are kind of evolves into the things you create. And there's definitely a tie-in.
There's definitely a tie-in, okay. But would you say that, has there been any points where there's been a change at all? Now, let's say your ability to be inclusive is what has fueled your passion with Hum. Has there been a point where you've faced a conflict where this is what I want to achieve and do and working towards, but it's actually giving me a sense of conflict in something I inherently believe in? Did you face that internal monologue and dilemma throughout your journey in following this purpose with Hum?
I think there are a lot of dilemmas that maybe there's something you really want to do but is not feasible or it doesn't make the most business sense. But I'm also one of those where there's a will, there's a way kind of people. So you can ask our team as well. I come up with things, and even if it's like really, they're like, it's impossible. I'm like, it is possible. Make it happen. Just find a way. So we try very hard to not at all move away. I think there would be situations that come up saying, maybe this isn't feasible right now. But then you have to think about who you're trying to help as well. And if you can see that you're trying to solve for something that actually will help someone, you have to find a way to make it happen.
Yeah, true.
You just have to work hard at it.
Yeah, you need to work at something, I think.
And maybe prioritize. So maybe if you can't launch it this quarter or next quarter, put it into your fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Work towards it.
Give yourself a target. Yeah. I think I got a very good piece of advice, which was that if you want to work towards and achieve something, which is something I'm doing like a crazy person right now, is I just write it down. Like I write it down. It's in the first thing when I wake up on my whiteboard. It's the first thing that's there in my car.
It's an affirmation.
It's like a manifestation kind of thing where you're seeing it all the time and automatically your mind will intuitively work to it. It's in my laptop bag. It's everywhere. Where I've just written that same thing down over and over and over with the hope that eventually I'm intuitively working towards it, which has helped. Which has definitely helped. It was a good piece of advice for me.
Manifesting, saying positive. I wake up and I sleep to saying positive affirmation.
That's great advice. That's something I haven't done that.
There are like 4 or 5 lines that I say. I've shared it with my family as well and I encourage it.
Okay.
I'll tell you mine later. But it's just I wake up and sleep to it.
That's interesting. I'll also start doing that. That's actually very thought-provoking. Give me an example of an affirmation that you tell yourself.
I would say an important part of like affirmations, manifesting is gratitude. So you need to start by saying thank you for the blessings in my life, big and small. That's something that I say. You can talk about just retaining the positivity in your life, and then you can say the things you want. So you can say, I'm a magnet for health, I'm a magnet for wealth, happiness, clarity, success, all the things that you want. You have to act like they are already happening. So let's say you really want this client deal to go through. So you say, this client is buying X amount from my company, it is happening. And you keep saying this positive, current version of this action. And it just creates this kind of frequency of gratitude and hyper positivity that you will find a way to make it happen, even if it's just psychologically, it helps you. And then it also kind of, to me, I feel like the universe works in magical ways. I don't actually believe in coincidences at all. I think it's all planned out, it's all scientific, and I think that everything happens for a reason. Happens at the right time, but it'll find you.
Because I was just thinking with something that you said, but I've also realized, just to go back, is sometimes when I want things too badly, they never pan out in the manner in which I want them. Would you say that you faced that feeling as well?
It isn't always what we want that we'll get, it's what's right for us. So I've also learned that maybe we weren't sure of what we wanted, or maybe we wanted something, but we got something bigger or different that may be more fitting. But I still think if you want something so badly with your heart and soul, you'll get it. I don't know, have you read a little bit about Jim Carrey and his entire manifest? So he's amazing. I'm a big Jim Carrey fan, and he's obviously one of the greatest actors, right? Of all time, huge. And he was actually talking about this in an interview, and I read it also in an interview that he actually really wanted to be an actor. His father was an accountant and he really wanted to be an actor. And he every day would drive by, and he wasn't from the industry. He didn't have the connects. He was a complete outsider, wasn't getting opportunities. Every day he would sit in his car and drive by this really big Hollywood director's house and sit outside and just say, I know I'm going to get a movie. And I don't remember the exact amount. I'm going to look it up. But he wrote a check to himself of, I think back then maybe it was $100,000 and then it became $1 million. But he put a check of $100,000 in his pocket and he would keep just driving by this director's house. And one day he got a call for an audition. He got the part with this director and the pay was $100K. Could be $1 million. So if I'm wrong, please check. But the next time he wrote $1 million and the next thing he got was for that. And he's one of the biggest, I would say, advocates of manifestation. It's really beautiful because I think it's not about depending on it and just sitting at home, right? It's about doing the work as well. So you can't just sit at home and say, I dream that this will come to me. It's more about saying, I dream that this will come to me. I know this will come to me and I'm going to do what it takes to get it. And that's the attitude that's
Yeah.
going to make it happen.
Because if you can't lie to yourself is what I'm gauging. So if you give it your all,
Yeah.
then you would be happy with the outcome. But if you don't give
Yeah.
it your all,
But also, like, the harder you work, the luckier you get,
yeah, of
right?
course.
It's as simply
I truly
put.
believe that as well.
The harder you
Wholeheartedly.
work, the better the outcome.
That's where most people say they make your own luck, is because that's in your control.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, Carrie, the last guest that was on here, she asked, the thing I've been doing with this pod is I get the previous guest to ask a question to the following guest within the overarching theme of purpose.
Yeah.
And the question that she left for you was that what skill would you have you found, or are you looking for, or that you wish to monetize going forward, or have monetized going forward? What would that skill be for you? And further, what's another question you wanted to ask to a following guest or the listeners themselves in their quest of discovering their purpose and working towards that purpose?
I don't know if this is a skill, but I would say I've always been good with building connections and relationships with people. I love connecting with people. I thrive in those situations. So for me, what I've learned is in India, business is all about relationships, right? It's about building that connect, nurturing that relationship, gaining trust and reliability. So I would say for me, just building on my love for connecting with people has really helped me through, generating sales, business development, building a great team and kind of building a team culture as well. Yeah.
Okay, nice. And the last question I leave for guests is to leave another introspective question for the following guests to come and answer, and for the listeners themselves to ask themselves. So is there a question that you have in mind?
Ooh, okay. The question I would ask to the listeners at home, to you, and to the next guest is, if there was one thing you could get a do-over in your life, what would it be and why?
That's a wonderful question. So thanks for coming on, Carrie.
Thanks for having me.
It was such a pleasure to talk to Carina. Here's what I think you should take away from it. First, don't focus on what other people think. You know yourself best, and you know what you need to do to get to where you want to be. Second, don't be afraid to take action. It's much worse to regret not doing something than to fail at it. And third, and most importantly, life is too short to live anyone else's journey. Please let me know what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.